I think we were at the forefront. We kind of were there at the beginning of the resurgence of horror movies, which is lucky for us. So, you know, we make scary movies, and that's what horror movies are.
But you were the first.
People want to be scared.
What made you bring those films back? What made you say, it's time, let's get scary?
Economics. You know, you can make a horror movie cheap. You can't make a Hollywood blockbuster cheap. We don't, in the horror world, the title is the star. We don't need giant stars. But what we're finding now is that bigger actors are now willing to do horror stories, horror movies, where they never would in the past, because they too know that if the movie works, they'll get paid way more in the long run than they would by doing a general movie.
So, Mark, if it's a simple matter of good economics, why does it seem as though horror movies kind of went out of fashion for a while?
They did because there was an overglut, an oversupply, like anything else, and then horror movies stopped working, so then people went to other genres, and it's like anything else. If you make a movie and it works, people will make more.
Who's the
This
audience?
year, with the success of The Conjuring was giant, Insidious was giant, our audience are young males and young females. It's actually probably more female-driven than male-driven at this point.
So would you call them date movies? When I think of sort of old-school horror movies, there's that vision of, you know, a couple sitting together, she's sitting on his lap. Yeah, at the drive-in.
That's exactly it. You got it. It's a reason for a girl to jump into a guy's lap.
And Mark, do you think
and you can say you don't like horror movies,
but you like jumping into somebody's
women still
lap.
go.
Mark, do you think it's a good idea to see horror movies remade? Carrie, for example, coming out this weekend, a remake of a '76 film. Some of the remakes haven't done all that great. Like, think about, I'm not thinking horror, the Superman remakes, where the latest one was a bit of a bust. It seems like Hollywood's run out of good ideas. Maybe you haven't, but why not new horror films? Why a remake?
No, I've run out of a couple good ideas. I tried doing another Texas Chainsaw last year that opened to #1 but fell off pretty quickly. But Carrie is going to be giant. Carrie, my guess, does somewhere between $25 and $30 million this weekend. And you know, if the numbers you can do, it'll probably do 2 to 3 times opening weekend at the box office.
Does the calendar make a big difference? All the Saw movies, you release them just before Halloween. Everyone's got their spook on right around October. Does that make a big difference in terms of box office?
It's the time where you're after the big summer box office movies. You're before Christmas. And the other thing that people don't realize is advertising is cheaper to buy in October.
Why? The rates
aren't quite as high as the summer, so we can market our movies to more people at a less expensive cost. So we still, the Saw movies at the end were still only costing us $10 million to make, and we never did one that grossed less than 100.
Yeah, we're showing everybody the numbers right here. They're truly unbelievable. Well, maybe Saw 6. Saw 6 looks like it only did 68.
Yeah, but worldwide, we did really well.
So that brings up a really important question. Traditionally, horror movies haven't done so well outside the United States. How do you take horror and turn it into an international blockbuster? What's the key?
It's changing now. It's changing now. Our Saw movies did better internationally than they did domestic. And we're finding more and more international territories are buying for big money horror movies.
Horror movies?
Because, you know, they too are getting tired of the giant Schwarzenegger, Stallone type of action movies that they've been bombarded with.
What can you sell out of horror movies, though? If the audience is young men and women, when I think about what fanboys go out to buy when you see a Marvel-type movie, are there products that associate with these films that you can sell?
Yeah, we have all kinds of action figures and toys and dolls and T-shirts. I mean, it's not the business that the other films are doing, but we still do really, really well. And you know, I'm approached weekly by networks wanting to do a Saw series. So eventually, you know, we will do something in television. We're just not ready to do it yet.